The other great discovery of WD-GAN was angles. Now you probably have heard them if you've got some software package that claims to do GAN. It'll be called a GAN fan. Now a GAN fan is actually a complete load of rubbish. It has been written by a programmer, usually, the software packages, just because they've read it in a book by somebody else who didn't really know what they were talking about, just read what GAN said and literally just followed it and never changed their mind, basically. Now a GAN fan would be something like this. Now there are some free videos on percentages and what angles are if you go onto our website at www.gan.co.uk, and if you register there, there's 4 videos, 2 of them on percentages and 2 of them on basic angles. But if you have a software package, it would do a GAN fan, and it would basically be as follows: an angle that goes down 1 penny per week, 2 pennies per week on this weekly chart, 4 pennies per week, 8 pennies per week, 16 pennies per week, and that basically is a GAN fan. And if I go forward a little bit, I don't know about you, but does that really work? Does that really show you anything? I don't think it really does. It looks quite complicated. In other words, the people who have actually done this really don't know what they're talking about, and they just claim that that's actually GAN. Now what I'm going to do now is do the same thing, but if you know what you're talking about. Again, just like percentages, we've taken GAN's angles to a whole new level that you won't find anywhere else, and in fact there's only our software package allows you to do it correctly, in my humble opinion. Now we're going to do the same thing. Now what GAN basically says was that everything has its own master time factor, but he never really explained what that meant. But the FTSE works in a particular way, and the Dow works in a particular way. The mathematics is the same, but the time factor is different on each item, and the secret is really you've got to find out what that time factor is, and the videos that will come included will help you to work out that on particular items. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to change this to the way that the FTSE works, and we'll do the same thing. So his angles were 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. Now I've changed something fundamentally, but I'm going to use the same numbers. And it's also important to know where to draw angles from and where not to draw angles from, and when to stop drawing angles. And you'll see that the software allows you to do a lot of clever things. Now, so if we do a 1 by 1 angle, now that's a 1 by 1 angle, and you can see here that it kind of gives us this top here, but I've changed something about the angle. But you can see up here that it actually broke through that angle by a little bit. Now, when that happens, you have to cut the line. The next angle below that one is a -2 by 1. Now again, when the price went through it here, I would have to cut the line. Again, you can't do this with any other GAN software. So, how do I look into the future if I've got to keep cutting the line? Well, because I had to cut the line when that rise took place, I would have to draw my angles from that high, which is actually there, and then do the same thing. So his most important angle was a -1 by 1. Now look at the difference it makes by drawing it from the correct place, which you wouldn't do if you didn't know what you were doing. You should be able to see here that it's exactly where the market stopped. Now that is a mathematical line. In this particular case, it's an angle that goes down 1 penny every day. So if you counted how many days it was from that high, let's say it was 2,000 days, then we must be 2,000 pennies, 2,000 pence, should I say, down from that high. So in other words, time is equal to 2,000 and price is equal to 2,000. And from a GAN perspective, that's why the market actually turned. Again, I cut the line when it gets broken because I'm no longer interested. One of the big mistakes that people make when they do charting is they try to fit lines in to see the market do things. That's not really what you're trying to do. Now the next major angle would have been a 2 by 1, which you would have put on before the market ever got there. Now this is a weekly chart. That did stop the market for about 4 weeks. Again, that's a month, so that's quite a long time. Again, I would cut the line. Next angle below that one is a 4 by 1, and that one didn't work. Now there are other angles, but I don't want to particularly get it too complicated at this stage, so I won't particularly go into those at this particular stage. But they're all shown in the training videos that you receive with the service. Now you can see that the market formed a high here. Now there is an angle that's between this one and this one. Now The distance between those two angles is massive. That high there was made in mid-2004 and that one was made at the end of 2005. It's over a year between the two angles, so we don't want to wait that long before getting signals. Now what's the angle that's halfway between the two? Well, take the first number of the angle, so 1, and the first angle of this angle, which is 2. So 1 plus 2 is 3, and you take the second number, which is 1, plus the second number of this angle, which is 1, which gives you 2. So the angle that's halfway between the two is a minus 3 by 2. Now notice it's not physically halfway. In other words, the line from there to there is less than the line from there to there, even though it's halfway between the two. And you should be able to see that it's exactly where the market goes and turns here. And you would have put that angle on, 1, 2, 3, almost 4 years before the market ever got there. So what would we do above this angle here? Well, first of all, the next angle above a 1 by 1, so from the highest point, is actually a minus 1 by 2. Now I can draw that from the highest points because that rise that we had there never actually broke the angle. So you need to know where to draw angles from. It's incredibly important. And you should be able to see that the 1 by 2 angle, the one that goes down 1 penny every 2 days in this particular case, is exactly where the market goes and stops. Now think back to the chart that we were looking at before, and you'll see the angles, shall I say, that we looked at before. They didn't work at all. If you know what you're doing, it makes a huge difference. Now there is an angle that's halfway between the 1 by 1 and the 1 by 2. So you take the first number, 1, plus the first number of the second one, which is 2. You take the second number of this angle, which is 1, plus the second number of this angle, which is 2. It's a minus 2 by 3. Now you're going to go, it didn't work. But in fact, you wouldn't actually expect it to work because it's a trend line, and I don't like trading trend lines. They're usually mux plays. They don't. Sometimes they work, but normally they don't. That angle goes exactly through the high there, so we don't have to cut it and we don't have to draw it from the second high. So anybody who's got a ruler will go to that high there, draw a line through the secondary high here, and they would have that line, and they would be looking to short the market at that level there, because it's a trend line. Now you should be able to see that it goes down for a week or two. That fall is there just to encourage people to short the market before it goes through quickly. So I try not to trade trend lines. So what I'm trying to show you here is what a massive difference knowing what you're talking about does to using the techniques of GAN compared with if you don't know what you're talking about. The software is unique. I couldn't use somebody else's software to do GAN the way that I do it. It wouldn't work. So just to get you interested, I hope you enjoyed it.